in the past 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years of wholesaling real estate, I've made a lot of money. But I can confidently tell you that pretty much within the past 2 years, I've been kind of basically, quote, like retired, right? I basically, my time is not associated with my money anymore. And I can pretty much do whatever I want. And the definition of retirement for me is like, do I spend more time fishing in the week or do I spend more time wholesaling? And I'm more confident than ever to tell you that like I spend more time doing fishing and just like other things than like the time I work out and fish, like I do way more of that now than just physical wholesaling real estate, right? Comping properties on my deals, dealing with title issues or any of that stuff. Now, the craziest part about this is I personally, and I and that, it's kind of a jerk statement to say, but I'll say it right now. Like the thing is, I'll make more money wholesaling. I'll do more deals in a week than about 95% of wholesalers will do in an entire year. And I work maybe 4, 5 hours most that week just in like the operation side of the business. Now, that's not because I'm not doing deals or I'm not doing money, because we're doing a ton of deals. We're making a lot of money. But the thing about it is, you don't need to be involved in the business. And specifically, what you need to do is create a model in your life where you could start doing this. Now, I'm pretty proud to be kind of, quote, retired, at 25 years old in wholesaling. And trust me, it's a lot of things I do, right? It's not like I just sit around, in my retirement home playing shuffleboard all day. I have other ventures. I do a ton of other things, but specifically for the wholesaling side, a lot of it's just done for me now. A lot of automations, AI, and obviously the greatest team ever. And what I want to do today is show you how to get to that point. But we first have to kind of start in the beginning, which is like, hey, you got no money, you have no cash. You got to go out here and start getting that money. You got to start getting that success and a little bit of that freedom, right? And what I want to do today is show you basically the 4 levers to having an insane amount of success in wholesaling real estate. And kind of the way that I describe these levers, which let me pop it up right here, that there's 4. It's the basically, yeah, I would guess basically it's basically wow. I'm really bad at drawing, but pretty much, oh Lord, this is really bad, but you guys will get the point. Wow. We're going to restart this from the beginning. Okay. Okay. All right. You're just going to have to accept the handwriting and we're just going to, there we go. Okay. And we're just going to call this the 4 pillars. Oh, wow. There we go. All right. Okay, I'll do this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 4 pillars in the pyramid that you have to climb of leverage to start getting at that point where you're only working about 5 hours a week, right? Because, right here, you're working 5 hours at most, and you're just kind of seeing how the team is. And at that point, you're mostly just talking to management, managers, and people just kind of in charge of other people. But if you want to get to level 1, right, you're starting to work maybe 60 to probably 100 hours a week. And that was definitely where I was at. Level 2, you can get to 40. And if you're really good at your stuff, you can get it down to like 20 to 25 hours a week on leverage number 3. And then you get to the next part, which is number 4. And so what we're going to start talking about today is how to go from leverage 1 to 2, then 2 to 3, then 3 to 4, right? These are all models that you can do to start having success. And now the thing about it is, like, I like to talk about leverage a lot, but the way I like to describe leverage or talk about leverage is like, what is the word leverage? The word leverage is just basically using a lever towards something. Now, one of my best examples of this is, okay, if I only have 10 hours a week at most for wholesaling and I'm broke, what do? Guess what? You know what I always do? I always go out here and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to pull a code violation list, drawing for dollars, reverse drawing for dollars. Because I know 10 hours of reverse drawing for dollars is just as good as about 20 or 30 hours of cold calling. I'm using a lever, right? So for example, if there is a 20,000 pound car, no, let's let's use a 3,000-pound car. Could you physically lift that car up? Probably not. You most likely can't do that. But could you potentially have, like a jack and, you use as a leverage to pick the car up? Yes, because you're having a lever. You're basically doing 3,000 pounds of strength with only really putting like 50 pounds of force. So pretty much the way you got to describe it is you're doing 50 pounds to get 1,000 out. And this is the same exact thing how leverage works in wholesaling. You put 10 hours of reverse trying for dollars in, but you're really doing 30 or 40 hours of cold calling marketing that your competition's doing. And so this is where the word leverage comes in. And this is where you start having success, because when you know how to utilize leverage, you're pretty much, just use green for money here, right? You're going to be able to compound 5 hours a week of work into like 1,000 hours a week, which isn't even physically possible. But it's, oh wait, right here, which is even physically possible because there's not even 1,000 hours in the dang week. Okay. But if you have multiple people, if you have 10 people working 8 hours a day, that's 80 hours in a day of work when there's only 24 hours in the day, right? This is the secret to leverage. You can use other people and other systems, but we're not talking about that right now, right? We're first going to talk about the 4 pillars for success in wholesaling real estate. So we all start right here, number 1, then we get to 2, 3, and 4. And so if you want to start getting quote retired, where you're not really working anymore, but you have no money, it's like you can easily get there. You just got to step in line. Now, a lot of people think they can get to 1 to 3 and then 3 to 4 in like a month. It's just not possible. You have to level up. This is a video game. If you want to think about it like that, you just can't go from level 1 to 4. Now you can grind it out. You can speed run it. I know some of these crazy speed run. Where are the kids speed run now? Fallout, right? They Skyrim. Because you can speed run this, but it's very, very difficult to do. And people do it. It is not the easiest. It's not the most simple thing to do, but it is possible to do. So what we're going to do today is learn how to leverage this to have success. Most wholesalers don't really understand how to do this the right way. I'm going to show you how to do it in the correct way so you can start making a ton of money. So let's kind of again learn about leverage, right? We think about, the big bosses in entrepreneurship. And I like to use that because everyone wants to just use, me as an example. And I don't have this crazy ego to talk about myself. So we're going to talk about some other people because I think it actually is way easier to learn things. So for example, okay, my boy Jeff Bezos at Amazon, right? Everyone knows Jeff Bezos, right? Jeff Bezos is doing like, I don't even know what, like $100 billion a year in revenue, something like stupid. Jeff Bezos currently right now is not packing boxes, and he is not delivering these boxes to people's houses physically all by himself. He utilizes leverage to go do that. Now, did Jeff Bezos pack boxes by himself and help with the delivery starting out? Oh yeah. Jeff Bezos actually doing a lot of it himself with a few employees, but he started hiring people out and it got a lot bigger. Okay. That is the exact like dang reason. If you cross that out and you use like Steve Jobs wasn't going out here making iPhones himself, but he was making computers out of his own garage starting out. So you got to understand, to get to level 1, you must go to level 2, then 3, then to 4. Okay. We all like using Elon Musk in his little electric cars, right? He was very, very much in the assembly process starting out. And then he basically made robots to do it for him, basically, So you got to remember that, all these big people that you always look up to outside of me, right? They're not doing all the work themselves anymore. But in the beginning, they were all doing it by themselves. And I think we have this just weird hustle culture in wholesaling that we feel like everything needs to be AI automated. And maybe I am part of the problem. I love promoting and using these AI tools, but you got to remember that you still physically have to be in the process first and foremost to start having a crazy amount of success. And so first and foremost, just to understand that roughly you're going to have to be in this business starting out. You got to be in the trenches. You have to learn how to build the car before you can automate the building of the car. You have to learn how to basically eat sand before you can teach people how to eat sand. You got to be punched in the face and punch people in the face before you can coach people to start boxing and punching other people in the face. So you have your own army right there, right? There's just a little part of this business that you have to learn before you could start. You got to crawl and then walk, then sprint, and then run, then sprint. Whatever the analogy is for the day. So if we're looking at this pyramid, we got to start right at number one. Okay. What is the first part of leverage in this business? Well, first and foremost, I'm just going to start at the literal bottom, right? So if you're like literal bottom, I'm going to assume you have $0 to put in this business. Now, everyone knows, most people tell you, oh, you're broke, loser, loser. You can't give me money. You can't buy my wholesaling course. You can't buy my program. Get out of here, brokey. That's usually what you hear when you say you have no money in wholesaling. I don't believe in that. I believe you can definitely turn $0 into like at least 40 grand. And then you can use that 40 grand and start reinvesting it and then go out here and make M's, millions of dollars, right? But the thing is, it is not easy, okay? It is infinitely better. Like, no joke. It is like 164% better to have at least $100 for the first month in this business or $200 or $300 per month than just having zero. Now, I always use zero because we have a portion of people in here that absolutely have zero, and we are never going to leave these people behind. And I physically meet people like, Zach, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, no money. I make 30 cents an hour, some crazy. I make $1 an hour. You know, my parents make $2,000 a year, you know, in Africa. And no joke, I get this all the time. Like, Zach, I legit have no money. I only have an internet connection. Okay, perfect. Let me show you how you can actually start having success in this business. Now, it's easier to have $100, but it's still completely possible. So if we have to start getting out here with leverage, we understand that we have to start using a lever. Now, what are we leveraging against? Okay, I'll show you. So for example, if we're trying to pick up a 3,000 pound car, we're trying to leverage our strength to get the desired result, which is to lift the car up. In wholesaling, right, the secret, again, everyone knows it's leverage. So we have to kind of stop trying to do everything the craziest way. So some of us really, really believe, and I think this is crazy, that they can lift the car themselves. They'll spend through 2, 3, 4, 500 hours trying to lift the dang car themselves. And it don't matter how handsome and jacked you are in wholesaling, you're still not going to be able to do it. You have to use a lever, right? If you want to spend 6 weeks going out and doing it, you're never going to lift the car. So what you can do instead is use a leverage, right? And so the leverage we have in wholesaling when we have no money, right? We're trying to leverage money because we have no money. How do we leverage money? Let me know in the comments, guys, how do we leverage money? We have no money, okay? We're broke. We got $0, all right? We're out the mud. We're in, as the kids say, the gutter. In London, they call it the ends. When I went to London, the gangster guys, you know, they all say I'm from the ends. I'm like, these British people do not scare me. They're like it's almost comical how some of these British rapper guys are. Okay, how do you leverage it, right? Other people's money. Terry, this is the wrong YouTube channel. This is not some raising money type credit thing. I'm not going to make you put a credit card in to go pay me a course. Oh, wow. You are, Terry, you are broken in the real estate wholesaling coaching system. Okay. We have no money. We use partners. No. Okay. Holy moly. All right. No. Okay. So guys, I'm not telling you to pull out a credit card. You have no money, go borrow money. Guys, who is telling you this stuff to borrow money to go buy a wholesaling coaching program? No. Okay. You are broken. We need to really understand that borrowing money is not going to make us any more money in this business, because being in debt is not what I like to teach. That is a bad idea. What you need to do, and because the way you see that is because nobody ever looks at what actually has to be done. They think, oh, I just got to borrow money that'll make me successful. That's not how you become a success. Okay. You leverage the lack of money with time. All right. Especially when you're like 16, 15, 17 years old. I'm not going to take $6,000 in debt. You can't ever even pay that back probably. When you have no money, you're going to leverage money with time. Okay. The reason is time is actually the most valuable resource you have as a human being. On the contrary of what people say, no. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I'm not for sale. You can't ever pay me for my time. I'll be honest, if somebody offered me $4 million for an hour of my time, they can buy my time all day. DM me if you want to give me $4 million for an hour of my time. I will gladly do that. Okay. The thing is, everyone's time is for sale to a point. There is a price to someone's time, more or less, to a point. But I will tell you, first and foremost, you have to leverage money with time. This is the first part of really learning how to actually make a good wholesaling operation. So let's kind of learn about what we start out when we have time. Now, if we talk about kind of the first lever, right? So I'm just going to put like the first lever of wholesaling success, right? I'm just going to put just basically, $0. All right, this is our first lever in this business. Oh, right here. This is our first lever. We got no money. We're broke. What do? Well, there's actually 4 little bubbles that we really have to. Oh, wow. I need to make these bigger. There are 4 bubbles. Here we go. There are 4 bubbles, all right, that we have to understand in this business to start having success, all right? Because when we're broke, it's not just about hustle, bro, okay? The 2014 Gary Vee videos are over, all right? The whole, you just have to hustle. Like, it's important, but there's 4 things we have to do with leveraging time to actually have success with the lack of money, all right? So number 1, we have to learn. We actually have to have that education. Now, you might be like, Zach, I don't have money for, oh, right here. Zach, I don't have money for a wholesaling course. What do? I'm broke. Like, what, Zach, what do we do? Oh, swipe the credit card. No. Okay. Duh. All right. What you need to do is just go to, oh, wow, this is going to be bad. It's freewholesaling.com. Let's see if I can draw today. Not feeling good about this at all. I'm just going to put it on the bottom really quick. My C's look like L's today. This is not good. Hey, I draw like a rich doctor. What are you going to say? So, yes, I do have a free real estate wholesaling course. It is called freewholesaling.com. The reason why I tell everyone to go to freewholesaling.com is because you need to learn how to utilize your time correctly. I'm not telling you exactly. I'm teaching you how to close sellers. I'm teaching you how to find cash buyers. I'm teaching you all these important things. But most importantly, here in freewholesaling.com, I teach you how to use the lever that I'm giving you. I'm teaching you how to utilize your time correctly. So the first and probably most important lever here is going to be to learn in this business. Okay. As the first leverage we're going to have in our success. So many wholesalers, all right. So many people. Okay. I just want to grind. If you're grinding, doing the wrong stuff, you're going to be so burnt out. And the reason, people talk about burnout, it's called burnout because you're just not getting the desired outcome from all the amount of work you're doing. And so you're just going to have zero success. You're going to feel like this wholesaling business sucks, and you're never really going to reach your potential, your dreams, or anything that you pretty much want in this world. So what I'm highly, highly recommending for everybody watching is they learn how to utilize their time correctly. To learn your time correctly, you have to first learn. Okay? Makes sense. Next here is going to be output. All right? Very important. Output. Just a little better. Out. Best handwriting. Output. All right? That's number 2. Now, that's actually like raw, like effort, work, like calls, texts, hours, like putting this business right, the amount of sheer volume, right? That's the important part, right? That's one of the most like important pillars here to your success is first you have to learn how to close sellers, utilize your time correctly, all these things. But what else is super crazy, like important here in this business is going to learn actually how to be out here and outputting the work. Right. So if I tell you, you got to make 100 calls a day, you make the 100 calls a day, but you're doing it the right list and the right things that I teach. Right. So output's going to be super, super, super important here. Now, the other part of the first lever, which we talk about time and time again, is going to be the correct plan. So you got to remember, learning is knowing how to do something, output's the amount of effort we put out, and planning is going to be the direction. So if this is point B and we're at point A, and we have enough gas to get to point A to point B, which is going to be our output. We know how to drive the car, right? We actually learned how to drive the car. But if I'm going this way and then this way and then this way and then this way, I'm going to run out of gas, right? So it's important to actually know how to get there. And that is going to be a plan. Okay. So to get from point A to point B, you first, number one here, right? Number one, got to learn how to drive the car. Number two, you got to make sure you have enough gas in the gas tank to get there. There's enough energy. Three is plan. That's the right direction where you have to be at. And just a little bit at the end here, and not a lot of people agree with me here, but if you're successful in wholesaling, you do understand this, that the other part of this business, where I'm going to pick green here, is just going to be a little bit of luck. I don't know what to say. I'm going to put about 5%. Okay. I'm going to put about 5% luck here. Where's that Fort Minor song? Like 5% effort, 50% pain. But it's luck. Okay. Luck has about a 5% effect on here, right? You just get lucky in this business. Now, the one thing I tell you when you get really lucky in wholesaling real estate is if you just show up every single day and let's say you call 500 sellers a day, you are way higher likelihood of getting lucky talking to the right seller and being in the right place at the right time by just being there more, right? That's just the truth. If you want to watch, I don't know how to say this, right? Like if you want to have the highest chance that you go, look at an airplane, you don't want to be in the middle of Delaware or the middle of like Iowa. You want to be right next to an airport in Seattle. Okay. So sometimes you just got to be at the right place at the right time. So when you're first starting out with no money at all, some of the most important parts we have to understand is learning how to wholesale real estate, which obviously everyone knows. You go to freewholesaling.com, scrolling on the bottom for a second here, to learn how to wholesale real estate, join a free real estate wholesaling community, all the great stuff we have in freewholesaling.com. Then we have to have the right energy, the outputs to actually have success here. Then we got to start planning everything out correctly and then have our correct luck. Now, the next question is, well, Zach, what does this basically look like? What is the right plan if we're going to start actually going out here with no money at all to have success? Well, what I'll tell you is first, if you are going to learn this business, I would say you start with the marketing modules. Okay. You do marketing modules basically, and then you just basically take 7 days to go through the rest. So day one for 101 in marketing, and the rest can be done in about 7 days. So to learn this business, it's going to basically take I'd say 1 day. Like you start taking action day one, and it'll probably take you a full week to get through that course. It's a pretty simple course. I'm just saying a couple hours at night, going through the information, the modules, everything we say here. It's not that death of a crazy big course like we used to have. So I'm telling you, 1 day, go through all the marketing, 7 days, go through the rest. That's all you really need to know to really start learning this business. Now, when we talk about output, right, there's a lot of variables on output. I'll tell you this, if you're putting about 20 hours a week on whatever you're doing, right? So who knows what that can be, right? So that could potentially be like 1,200 calls in a week, really depending on the skip tracing stuff you do. Could be 100 drawing for dollars leads, right? There's so much variables of what is considered output, right? You could put 150 sticky notes, right? So R, D for D, reverse drawing for dollars. There's so many different ways to make money in this business, right? There's so many different ways, front and back and left and right. We can start doing this. It's really up to you how you want to do things, right? I honestly, I got no skin in the game here, right? Like I'm telling you, I've made money doing all this stuff. You could do 500 texts, 1,000 texts, right? Whatever just gets you out doing the work. But I would say generally putting at least 20 hours of marketing is going to be the best way. 40 hours of marketing is the best way. But the very, very important part, okay, the part where I go crazy on is the plan. Most people can never stay consistent in wholesaling real estate. The reason they can never stay consistent is because they can't stick to the plan. So this is why the plan is super important. Now, a lot of people will say, okay, I'm going to do 20 hours of marketing, and then they'll do 30 hours 1 week, and then 5 hours the week after, then 40, and then 4, and then 44. And then it's just like super boom and bust, boom and bust, boom and bust. And You're just not consistently getting deals and success. And so what I'm telling everyone in here is if you want to go out here and start being, you just want to be sick and tired of not making money, right? Sick of being broke. You got broke-itis over here, sick of being broke. What I could tell you is you just make the right plan. So the right plan is you would show up 25 hours a week. You try to make at least one offer, one legit offer. One offer a week is really good as a beginner. Now, if you want to get advanced, you want to get one offer a day. One offer a day is the best one. It keeps the wholesale coaches away because they don't want to. You're not going to give them any money because you're having so much success. One offer a day is like obviously the gold standard here. If you can make one offer a day to a very, very interested, motivated seller, you're going to have success. And so your plan is going to be important here. Now, the key to your success here, do you guys even want to see me try to draw a key? Boy, all right. We're going to try to draw a key here because it's so important that we know how to have a key to success. Okay. So we're going to try the little circle. Okay. We're going to do a little circle. All righty. And then the key is going to be like, oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. And then it's like, here's the key to success. Oh boy. This is getting bad. What if I can't draw a key. Boy, I try to draw a key. This is bad. Oh boy. How do I make this better? Oh boy. How about I fill it in? Did that make it better? I think I made it worse. I'm gonna stick to my ChatGPT art. But yeah, this is how you draw a key. You are so welcome for this great drawing today. But that is your major key to wholesaling success. Okay. They never told you how to draw to get rich. All right. Okay. They never told you that in school. All right. So that's what you got to learn starting out. And then the most important part is luck. Guys, I'm not even going to draw luck because you just got to show up. Show up. You'll find a lot of success and luck here. Right. So if you want to start going out here and having that first leverage of success, you're just going to be able to get at least one deal per month doing this. Just get your first deal, make 20 grand, 30, 40, 50 grand. And then boom, you got some cash. Now we can start going out here on our second lever. All right. Our second lever is going to be able to start leveraging time with money because you're going to find this. Okay. So when you start making, let's use, for example, let's get rid of this color. There we go. Let's say you go out here and you start having some success. You're making about 20K a month. You're happy, right? You're working 70 hours a week, which a little, that's light hours. That's for what I used to be doing, but light hours. But you're like, oh my gosh, I'm working way too much. Now you're going to start buying some of this time back to bring it down to 40, right? With some systems, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to work less and we're going to double to triple our income. Makes sense to you guys? Double, triple your income. And you're like, oh my gosh, Tech, I want to do that. Okay, that's pretty simple. Now, my secret system, this is the lever number 2. Okay. And I've been very consistent with this for pretty much my entire wholesaling real estate career or whatever you want to call it. You already know what lever number 2 is. People really don't like it. It's very anticlimactic. Are you ready for it? Lever number 2 is you just do what works and you just do that more. And maybe like, Zach, what are you talking about? The best, most surefire way that I can get anyone, okay, anybody from 20 to 50K a month in wholesaling real estate while working less is by just doing this. So I have somebody come to me and says, Zach, I'm doing 2 deals a month, right? I'm doing 2 deals a month. And all I'm doing is I'm cold calling basically probates. I'm calling the code violations, and we're calling high equities on X leads or so whatever, right? This is how I'm doing it, right? I'm killing myself, but that's how I'm doing it. Zach, how do I work less and make more money? This one's really simple. Okay. Like this is the easiest one out of them all. What you do, and this is the magic of Zach. Okay. Let's make this red for corrective purposes. You basically do this. Okay. So if we want to add an extra 2 deals per month, right? All I'm going to do is do this. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Watch this. Watch this. Are you guys ready? Right? Ready to see my genius? It's how easy it is once you start making. This is why it's so easy. Like, I'm going to scream here because it's so, when you start, the reason I try to focus so many people getting their first wholesaling deal when they're broke, because once you start getting that first deal, the next deal is just poor. It just gets easier and it just, the snowball effect is crazy. But so many people, when it just gets so worked up in the logistics and oh my gosh, it's the reason I can't become successful. No. The only reason you're not becoming successful is you're just not following the dang plan I'm setting for you. But it's just so simple. I'm like, okay, let's just add SMS to your plan. If you're cold calling, let's say 20,000 people a month, let's just SMS 20,000 people. Oh my gosh. Mind blown. Okay. This is why I am the forefront, most genius wholesaler on this planet, because nobody else can think of ideas like me. Okay. But this is such a genius idea. But this is Zach's monkey brain. But okay. Well, if you're making 2 deals a month cold calling these lists, how about we just add texting? How much does texting 20,000 sellers cost? I think that's about $200 a month. Okay. $200 a month. That's it. 200 stinking dollars a month. That's how you go from 20K to 50K. Now, a lot of people don't understand this method or this concept, but this is the simple concept out here. Okay. This is a simple concept. Okay. But if you're going out here and attacking these sellers who are in their little house, and they got their little cell phone, and you, the nice wholesaler guy, is trying to reach out to this person on their little cell phone, and you have a scary unknown number, there's a certain amount of people that just ain't going to go pick up that phone, and they're just going to just be a no answer, and you get no wholesale deal. And it just basically blocks you from about 75% of these sellers, because you try to cold call, you get 25%. And so most people only cold call. But if you hit them from a second angle, oh boy, y'all internet trolls are gonna love to clip farm that quote. But if you hit them with a text SMS, which, by the way, I don't know if you know how texting works, but even if I'm like, oh, it's an unknown number and I don't want to see it, if that's how people act sometimes, which is true. I mean, let's take a raise of hands here, okay? How many of you guys answer let's actually do a poll. Let me do a poll while we're live here, because I'm actually genuinely curious, right? We got a little more younger people in here than the average person. But okay, let's actually do a little poll. I'm adding a poll right here. All right, let's actually add a poll, okay? I'm going to say, how many of y'all, oh my gosh, how much of y'all answer basically unknown numbers? All right. We got a new poll. How many of y'all will answer an unknown number? Like genuinely, like it's your third unknown number. Most people get 4 or 5 of these calls, like no number. It's a random one in your area code. How many of y'all will actually answer those? I'm genuinely curious. Okay. We got some younger people. So we're roughly at, okay, we got some votes here. Let's look right here. Okay. So currently, if we're looking at the polling, just on the live polling from you guys, right? I think you're a good data set, right? We're at about 68% of you guys on average will not answer unknown numbers. Now, I would say that's skewed really, really heavily towards parents because some of y'all get an answer from like a doctor for your kids or like the medical school, like the school or like medicine, right? But everyone's like, oh, they're debt collectors. I don't want to deal with like most people ain't going to do that, right? So we understand that, right? That makes about 70% of you say no. I don't answer from unknown callers. So if all you do is cold call all day, you're kind of screwed. Let me ask another poll. Okay. And this is not, and by the way, I'm not asking if you reply. I'm just asking how many will read a text from an unknown number. Here's the second one. And this is probably the most important one. Well, how many of you guys will read a text if it's from an unknown number? How many of y'all? It's always, guys, and don't lie to me, right? Guys, I'll tell you the truth. Even if it's an unknown number, if it's a text on my phone, it literally pops up on the front. I'm going to read it. So it's kind of funny here that we're actually doing some live research, but everybody will read a text even from it's an unknown number. So it's crazy to think that all I need to do is cold call, right? You might block them, but you're at least going to read the message. That's the most important part. So if cold calling still is great, best way to get deals, hands down. But what I'm telling you is let's see here. Where is this? Right here. Let's end this poll. All right. And by the way, and I'm genuinely curious, right? If you're going out here and you don't read the text, what do? You say, oh, it's an unknown number. delete. I can't even look at the message. Seriously? You probably open it just to delete it, right? I'll probably say 95% of you, right? So what I'm going to tell you is if you can cold call, right? And then add SMS to that seller too, about 25% of the people are going to answer it. But also 85% of the people are going to read the text. And just because you send a text, you don't get a reply, that doesn't mean it, right? Most people, if you text me, you're looking to sell your house and they're not interested, they're just not going to text you back. The ones that are interested, yes. And the ones that are mean, still do it, right? So I'm telling you, if you can hit them with a cold call and then an SMS, on average, right, you're going to get at least 60% of the people hitting you up. And so this is why leverage number 2 is important. We start hitting them from other marketing channels. And what if I told you, like, how many of you guys read all your emails? It might be an extra 15, 20%. How many of y'all would have a sticky note on your door? Would you actually read it if it was on your door, right? And we start adding this. And so you got to understand that if we're getting deals from certain lists, and what we do here is if we hit them with an SMS, number 1, then we hit them with a call, then we hit them with basically a reverse drawing for dollar sticky note. And let's say we want to hit them on number 4 with an email, right? You are going to destroy your competition because most people can't do all this stuff. Like the tracking of that is already hard enough, right? Now, I'm not going to go out here and plug X leads. Oops, I guess I did. But XLeads is amazing software. We just did a version 4 launch, and you're able to track all this stuff by doing it. It's the only one in wholesaling real estate that actually cares about you because I am a wholesaler. But basically, you don't need to use even XLeads. You do it absolutely for free. But if you're making 20 grand a month, I mean, you're dumb if you're not using XLeads. But the reason why I'm telling everyone to do this is not because I have this crazy incentive to tell you, like, you can do it absolutely for free. You could probably do it in some other wholesaling softwares that are awesome out here. But I'm just telling you from the bottom of my heart that if you're just only calling sellers or only texting sellers, there's so many angles you can hit them in different ways, right? And the best way I can describe it is, it's like if your wife's mad at you and you give her chocolates and say, I'm sorry. Sometimes you need to go buy her flowers. Sometimes you got to take her out to dinner. sometimes you got to just like, I don't know, just like plead and cry. I don't know. But sometimes you got to hit them with a different, you got to go with a different angle here. And sometimes in wholesaling real estate, texting is great for a list, but calling might hit them in a different way. And cold calling is still my favorite one, but you got to remember all this stuff. If you could go out here and have some sort of system where you can text the sellers, and let me tell you the reason why, and let me get rid of the X Leads plug on here. But think about this. Let's do a list of, let's say, 10,000 sellers. This is how you really run an efficient operation. Okay, let's do just a list of 10,000. Most people, okay, most people, when they have a list of 10,000 who's going to use the system and tell you, you get all excited. What you do is, number one, you call all 10,000, right? Then number two, you text all 10,000. Then number three, you're going to email all 10,000. And then number four, let me write the 10K. And then four, you're going to reverse drive for dollars. I doubt you can do 10,000, but like, as much as you can, right? But like you ended up doing like 1,000 marketing, and you could definitely use leverage to actually do probably half of that. And you might be like, Zach, what type of system can you do that? Let me show you. So let's go back here and show you my genius way of doing this. There you go. So let's go back. Let's actually do email right here. Because texting, emailing, and calling still cost money, but we got to be a little, okay. So let's say if we call and we get let's say we're great. We do a 25. Let's actually make it red so we can actually do some math here. But let's say it can get a 25% response rate, right? 25% response rate, which means 25% of those 10,000 people I called will actually respond and talk to me. That means there's only 7,500 people that didn't answer, right? So does that make sense? That means 2.5 people actually answered the call. I'm just doing an A for answered. And then 7.5 thousand actually did a no answer, right? They didn't answer the call. That means I already talked to 2,500 people. If they already said yes or no, I don't need to text these people. I already talked to them, right? It's a waste of time. So now all I have to do is all I need to do is just text 7.5 thousand, which is actually pretty dang efficient. And let's say we get a quick math. Let's do 20%. Let's say 20% of these people, okay. So let's say 20% of these people actually pick up. Now I need a calculator because I'm not some crazy math whiz, but let's do 20%, 0.8 of 7,500. That's about 6,000. So we got 1,500 people that answered. And then we got 6K left over. Now, at this point, 99% of wholesalers go take the 6,000 and just throw it in basically the trash. They're like, oh, loser. They don't answer me. Guys, this is the gold mine. This is the reason why people can't double their businesses really quick and overnight. Because no one really wants to like get into this data set. No one's talking at all like this. Oh my gosh. Like nobody's talking like this, right? And so what I'm telling you to do is if you could just do this really quick, just hit that 6,000 with an email blast. Maybe get 5% or something like that. But to even get a response or getting in front of people who are interested, even on the 6,000, nobody's talking to these 6,000. There's no one nurturing this campaign. And you're basically ending up doing four and then 2.5. So 6,500 efforts you're taking. You could use that for more calling and texting. And so the point here is you're actually doing less work and being as valuable. I mean, you're doing what's 4 divided by the 30. I mean, you're doing about almost 15, 20% less marketing while getting the same exact results. So you could use those results and actually use more of your resource, which is time, money, effort, outbound stuff, to start getting more wholesaling deals. So this is the second part of our leverage, right? We're going out here and using a list for success. Now, everybody asks me, Zach, what system do I use to track all this stuff? Again, I'm just going to tell you, xleads.com. The reason is we use AI tracking, best CRM. We actually have all the automations for calling, texting, emailing, all together. Definitely recommend it. XLeads. We just bumped up the basic plan to 25,000 exports a month. We added our buyer match AI to the Pro and X plans. We have awesome PPL pricing now. We have PPL for $24 a lead now. Nobody else gets that on Coupon Club, and basically insane other stuff. Just search version 3 X Leads. We just came out. Just go to our website, xleads.com. All of our new stuff's in there. We actually have the probate list nationwide, all this cool stuff. It just came out with the version 3. Massive success. We had more signups on that launch than I've on any. It was bigger than a version 1 launch, bigger than a version 2 launch, and then version 3 launch. Absolutely amazing. Shout out to everyone. Really appreciate it. But yeah, we use X Leads for all these systems for the second part of the leverage. The reason is, again, not to sound like some guy that's just telling you to go get X Leads, X Leads, X Leads. But the reason is we did the math. It will cost you around $1,700 a month to have all these tracking tools that all these other wholesaling influencers tell you to use. X Leads, literally, the reason why I made the software is because it's only $97 a month. I was able to have $1,700 of tracking and CRM, dialer, SMS, all this stuff, all for only $97 a month. Go to xleads.com if you want to check it out. But that's basically my whole spiel on that end. Now, that is the second part of the leverage on here. And so remember, let's recap. Number 1, we're going to leverage money with time. Number 2, we're going to leverage our time with money. It's kind of like a backwards. And then number 3 is we can't do any more volume or systems kind of with, ourselves. We actually have to start hiring people. And this is where we start hiring employees. And so this is why it's really, really important we start hiring other people out. So the secret again is sometimes the funniest part about when you're leveraging out, right, is especially when you're going and you're trying to make, $100,000 a month, there's not like any secret list at that point anymore. There's no like big, massive secrets. All the big boys are doing the same big boy stuff. There's no like massive secret. What I can tell you here though, and what's really, really important is you got to get really good at the team. And so if you're cold calling, if you're one person, and you're calling, let's say 40 hours a week, which is insane, by the way, that's a lot of cold calling. But I had 5 VAs, right? Cold calling 40 hours a week. They're doing 200 hours a week. Right? That's how it works. So the best way I can describe this, all right, is let's actually use a non-real estate analogy here because this is one of my favorite ones. Okay. So let's say this is right here. Let's do big, scary. Let's actually do this. Okay. And let me ask my MMA fans here because we like some MMA. All right. So right here is UFC lightweight champion, UFC middleweight champion, Khamzat Chimaev. Okay. Scary guy. This dude will beat everybody up. Okay. He is UFC middleweight champion, Khamzat Chimaev. Okay. Me and Rick were watching the fight last night. It was a pretty interesting fight. I'm not getting into it, but okay. He will whoop your butt. Let's say he is going to fight Zach. Okay. Trust me. I was a really good wrestler in high school, but I am not anywhere near this guy. He's going to put me in a crucifix and he is going to destroy me. Okay. Right? If it's 1v1, I'm done. Okay. Well, let's ask another question. What if there is now 2 Zachs? Okay. I ain't a small guy. Okay. Comes out like he's 6'2", so like he's like 1 inch taller than me. So if we have 2 of Zach's, who's going to win? Still him. Okay. Well, the question is, how many Zacks have to be in the octagon for us to go beat him? I would be honest with you. I would bet about 4. Okay. I would say there's got to be at least 4 Zacks in the octagon. I still do train. I train MMA. So I will tell you 4 Zacks should win. Okay. Now, if you want to argue with me, we can do 8 Zacks. Okay. But let's choose these 2. If there's 10 Zacks in the octagon, I'm destroying the guy. Okay. So that is the point. If there's just, you can't, it doesn't matter how good this one person is in fighting. Okay. If there's 10 men against 1 and there's no weapons, just hand on it. Like there's, unfortunately, you're just not going to win. Now, I don't care how much anime, superhero, Netflix weird movies you watch. When there's military movies and actual like historic military things, because I don't want to nerd out, it is never, ever, ever going to be like a 100x advantage that's always going to win. Even though we love the story of 300, that's always a legend. But the story of 300 ended with him dying. Okay. Still, the law of numbers always works, especially when it comes to fighting and stuff. And so if I am the best cold caller in the world, all right, if I'm the greatest cold caller in the world, you know me, cold calling, let's say 100 hours a week, and I have 20 cold callers, right, and they're doing 30, that's 600 hours in the week. And it doesn't matter how good you are in the cold calling, because most cold calling is just making sure that they're interested in selling, and then you could bring on to a salesperson or acquisitions manager. It don't matter how good of a cold caller you are. The sheer volume is always going to win. This is why if I was going out here and I had to compete with somebody, like who's the best person at closing, right? Somebody asked me last couple days ago, like, Zach, you should be in this, like, you should like be in these competitions for closing and wholesaling. Like someone actually asked me, I said, like, I'm never going to be like, I'm never going to be the guy to claim that I'm the greatest closer of all time. Like no one's better at talking to a seller than me. Right. That goes to Rick, by the way. I think he's actually legitimately the best person at closing. But the one thing I will do is I'll get in front of more sellers than you, and I'll make more money than anybody else. So I will tell you this, I will make more money than any other wholesaler if I have to compete with that on that end. It's actually pretty easy. I know pretty much in my hands the wholesalers that make more money than me. But the thing about it is, if I can have 10 appointments in a day and you have 5 appointments in the day and you're way better at closing than me, it doesn't matter, because my closing's like super elite. It's not like it's not top 3 in the world. It might be top 10. But guess what? It's because I'm 25. I really legit feel like the older I get, the more like, I'm not getting into that right now. But basically, if you do this right, the craziest part about it is if I just get in front of double the amount of points as you, your close rate might be 90. No, your close rate might be 80. But if my close rate's 75 and I get in front of double the amount of appointments, I'm making more money than you. And that's the way I always look at it, right? Marketing should always be the forefront of the priority here. And that's how you become really successful, right? You just get more appointments. You go out here and get a lot of deals, right? And so this is why the wholesalers that learn how to leverage other people end up making the most money. And so the whole lever of number 3 is just hiring VAs and virtual assistants. I'll tell you, about $6 an hour is really where you need to be at for most VAs for cold call all day. You want to make sure that don't really have any accents or anything like that. It's a little more difficult to find that too, especially with training, everything like that. I have VAs that I'm paying over $20 an hour. And I have VAs that I'm paying like $350, $4 an hour, right? Virtual assistants shouldn't be paid just because they're virtual assistant. I truly believe virtual assistants, right? They're people, they're human beings. They're not AI. They're basically paid on their worth of the company, right? And so you need to go out here and pay them their worth. And I see all these people say, oh, these virtual assistants, you need to go out here and pay them $1 an hour, $2 an hour, $3. I think 6 is pretty reasonable. And especially if they're cold calling all day and you're not getting them any like sales commission, like I think that's pretty dang reasonable. So a lot of people want to know what's the third one. It's just hiring VAs. I like onlinejobs.ph right now. I'm not really a big fan of Upwork right now. I'm finding a lot of my good employees on onlinejobs.ph. And so let me write that down for everyone. So if you are looking for employees online, where's it? Onlinejobs.ph is by far the best place to hire VAs right now. I think it's like $50 to like hire like 5 or 6 people. Definitely highly recommend it. And that's how you're going to leverage number 3. Okay. There we go. Number 3, you're leveraging volume with employees. Now, the fourth lever for your success is going to leverage you with other people. What are you talking about, Zach? Huh? Guys, the way to retire is you're going to go out here, right? And you're going to go be like, okay, well, I'm working about 40 hours a week. How do I go to like 5 or 20, right? What you have to do is someone's got to manage all these people you hired. And for most people, it's yourself. Now, when you start leveraging opportunities and you actually start making like real big boy money, you're going to have like COOs and people like that. I know, oh, I don't want any of that stuff. That's how any big corporate, like once you start hitting like the 8 figures, right? Once you start getting in the 10 millions, you need to have managers for the managers. And that's the big secret. Now, no one likes to pay somebody, 50, 60, 100 grand a year just to manage other people making 50, 60 grand a year. But unfortunately, that's just how the cookie crumbles in business. I mean, the military works like this, kitchens work like this, and businesses, even in wholesaling, work like this. Once you want to start making big boy money here, you're going to have people manage the managers, right? And it kind of turns into a whole entire structure for most wholesaling businesses where it's like you on the top, right? And then you might have a COO, and then you might have somebody for the marketing. Then you have somebody on the acquisitions part. And then you have somebody for the dispo and transaction coordinating. Wow, I can't draw today. And basically, they handle all the VAs. This person, acquisitions manager, marketing manager, dispo manager, but then they handle basically the agents, right? The acquisitions agents or acquisitions managers, what I like to call them, because I do not want to call anyone an agent. I'll call my dispo people dispo agents because they're actually real estate agents mostly. But I mean, you literally have 1, 2, 3, 4 managers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 managers, and Jesus, might have 20 or 30 if you're making like 10 million, right? So that's how businesses like. So when like when I say I'm not working that much, it's because I have 4 people working 40 hours a week just to manage the employees, and you got to pay them really well, like very handsomely. Like the acquisitions manager is making 10% of the deal, and so you got to understand that to become retired to a point and actually run a business, which most people don't really know how to do it, right? Most people say retired, they're just selling wholesaling coaching programs. You actually have to pay up to have the people watch the other people and be management and manage other people and do all these crazy things. And so, if you're going to retire in 3 years, I think the best game plan for you doing this right now is kind of go through like a grind phase. I think obviously 6 figures, 100 grand first year, right? So we talk about year 1. Year 2, you're going to probably try to make 250K, right? With systems and leverage and hiring. And then year 3 to 4, right? You hire out and then you go from there, right? So 3 years, you do it solo, right? So first I'm going to call it like the solo leveling. But basically then we go into basically, systems and tools. Oops. And then boom, you get out here into hiring, and then you kind of out of the wholesale business doing your own thing, right? But you have to start at the beginning, and most people do not know how to start at the beginning. So I will tell you to start, go to freewholesaling.com. I'll tell you how to learn wholesaling real estate absolutely for free. Again, will cost you nothing to learn wholesaling real estate, and so you can have a ton of success.